back again. It's the Horror Guys. I'm Kevin.
I'm Brian.
And we're here to talk about some horror movies again. Horror movies this week. We got some new stuff.
You sure this wasn't the week we were going to do romantic comedies?
I'm pretty sure, yeah. Well, the one has a little bit of romance in it.
A little bit.
Yeah, very little, but yeah. Well, they both. Yeah, several of them have a little more. I wouldn't call them romantic comedies.
No, I would not. No.
They're horror movies.
Musical theater?
No.
Just straight up horror films.
Just straight up horror films.
All right.
Well, we're going to talk about another of the Amityville movies. Amityville, The Evil Escapes from 1989.
Ooh.
Can't keep a good demon down.
Yeah. What else?
And Mother's Day from 2010.
Ooh, good holidays.
Rebecca De Mornay getting all nutsy again. And a little smaller something with Dr. Cyclops from 1940.
The one that we talked about last week.
Did
a
allude
little prematurely.
To that. Yeah, we mentioned that, yeah. And we go to ancient Korea for Monstrum from 2018. Documentary.
Yeah, I'm sure it was all true, yes.
Yeah.
All right, well, we got episode 103 here. And, of course, as usual, not going to go into it in too much detail, but we've got books, horrorguys.com/books. And we got a book there on the original Shock Theater package of 52 Universal films. The later on package of, I think, 49 more films. Well, 49 in the book, anyway. That's called The Horror Guy's Guide to Shock Theater. Son of Shock. The Horror Guy's Guide to Son of Shock. And, of course, The Horror Guy's Guide to Hammer Films, which talks about all the Hammer horror movies. All right, but now this week, we're going to start off with this week's old movie.
Dr. Cyclops.
Going to keep an eye out for you.
1940. This was the first science fiction film to be shot in Technicolor. How's that for a bit of trivia?
It is.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, 1940. Remember things like the Creature from the Black Lagoon, even the original Wolfman were black and white, and they came after this. So this was ahead of its time.
Color was new and expensive. Yeah.
This was the year after Gone with the Wind, and the year after Wizard of Oz. Color was the rage.
It was.
And Dr. Cyclops. I'm surprised this is not more of a classic.
It should be. It deserves to be.
It was far better than I was expecting.
Yeah. So pleasantly surprised. Yeah.
Okay, directed by Ernest B. Schoedsack. There's a name for you.
Yeah.
Written by Tom Kilpatrick, stars Albert Decker, Thomas Coley, and Janice Logan. Hour and 16 minutes. Color. English. Horror. It's got everything.
Sci-fi. Yeah. I liked it.
You did? Okay.
Did you like it?
I definitely did also.
Yeah, I thought you did.
I liked it more than The Incredible Shrinking Man, actually.
Oh, I don't know.
There's a lot to be said for color.
Yeah, there is. Yeah.
Well, Dr. Mendoza comes in and asks Dr. Thorkel about his work. You gotta wonder about the names on these people.
Dr. Thorkel.
Thorkel and Mendoza.
Albert Decker playing that role, and that was his big role.
Yes, that was the one he
did. He did lots of other stuff, but this was the one his pride and joy and his gem, and his big thing was this.
Yeah, he had this put on his tombstone or something, didn't he?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I think I saw that.
Well, his obituaries for sure.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Maybe not the tombstone, but his obituaries mentioned it.
It was a good movie, but to call it the highlight of your life is kind of probably maybe a little sad. I was Dr. Cyclops in that movie 30 years ago.
How many people can say that, though?
Back in the 90s. He was in a famous, well, you know that.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Well, anyway, Dr. Thorkel's experiment is a success. He used radium to destroy his subject, but also keep it alive. What? Mendoza gives him the "there are some things men were not meant to know" speech, but Thorkel wants to reshape life. It's diabolic, shouts Mendoza. If you really want to tick off a scientist, use the D word. Diabolic. Yeah. Thorkel then, he responds appropriately. He pushes Mendoza into the radium machine, quickly killing him. So much for the critic.
Quickly giving a picture of what kind of guy Dr. Thorkel is.
Thorkel is said to be the world's leading biologist, and his lab is hidden in the Amazon rainforest. Dr. Bullfinch is heading down there to become his new assistant, and Mary Robinson is going along to handle microscopic work. They pick up a mineralogist, Bill Stockton, along the way. They have to blackmail him into coming along.
He's kind of a rogue.
Yeah, I wondered why they couldn't find somebody who actually wanted to be there.
Because she was hot for him.
All right.
Yeah.
Baker, the mule team leader, insists on going along as well. If you're taking my mules, you're taking me. And Pedro, a stereotypical Mexican for no particular reason, is already there as a non-science worker for Dr. Thorkel, taking care of the property and so forth. Thorkel has really bad vision and wears huge, thick glasses. He's requested assistance because he can't see to do the work anymore, especially with the microscope. They almost immediately find a problem with Thorkel's work, which he sets about correcting. Thorkel then dismisses the whole group. That's all he needed them for. They're not pleased.
Yeah, coming all that way, and it's like 5 minutes, and they fix Thorkel's problem.
Weeks on a boat.
That's it?
Oh, yeah, there you go. Baker,
You may go now. I no longer need you.
All done. Thanks for your time. Baker finds a secret mine, but has no idea what's in it. We see Thorkel playing with a tiny horse about a foot long. He's invented some kind of shrinking process. The next morning, Bullfinch finds a miniature pig only about 4 inches long, and it's one of Thorkel's cast-offs.
So they're not going to leave. They want to know what's going on.
Yeah.
And so the group sneaks into Thorkel's lab and reads his notes.
That's not going to fly. Thorkel freaks out. But then he apologizes and explains what he's been doing with the radium from the mine. He shows them his condenser that shrinks the animals. He tells them all to examine it closely. Of course, once they're all in there, he locks the door behind them and turns on the machine.
Step into this room and take a close look at that machine. Yes, all of
Suckers.
you. Yes, just one more step. Yes, that's it. And closes the door. Locks them in.
Yeah. Later, we see Thorkel picking up the leftover clothing from the group. The people have shrunk, their clothes have not. He goes down into the cellar and unlocks the door. His cat follows him down there. Uh-oh. All 5 people have shrunk down to about a foot tall. They try to escape but can't get up the stairs fast enough. He's very pleased that they survived the process with their physical and mental abilities apparently still intact. Makes you wonder about his previous experiments.
Hopefully it was just on animals.
Thorkel goes to sleep, and the others manage to get outside. The cat attacks, and they all hide inside a cactus until Pedro's dog comes to the rescue. Bullfinch says, "We are prisoners in Cyclops' cave." Of course, you know, Dr. Thorkel has 2 eyes, but he has trouble seeing, so yeah, not the best analogy there at this point.
Not yet.
Not yet.
Yeah.
Thorkel finds that the little people are very slowly growing, potentially back to normal size, and that concerns him. He kills Bullfinch. The others escape the compound out into the jungle.
And I think that around there was one of the coolest effects I thought in the movie. He's got little Bullfinch on the table, weighing him and measuring him and, studying him. And Dr. Thorkel is full size, and here's the little guy standing on the table, and it looked really realistic.
Mm-hmm.
And Thorkel holds his hand like behind little Bullfinch
To pick him up. King Kong style.
Yeah, and nudges him into an actual physical hand that was a giant hand, for the yeah, how they did it. It was really neat. Yeah. And grabs him. Yeah. But you can see the physical grabbing. It was, very good effects in this.
Yeah, they a lot of these things are so old you wouldn't think they'd have any kind of real effects. But
Very realistic.
They're pretty well done.
Yeah.
They find Pedro's boat and start to lever it into the river, but an alligator spots them. They fight off the alligator, but Thorkel and the dog are hunting them now. Thorkel shoots Pedro and demands the others come out of hiding. They hide in his sample collection basket, and he carries them right back to the lab, not even realizing he had them. They get out of the bag quickly enough, and now they decide to fight back.
No more running.
Thorkel goes to sleep again, and the little folks steal his glasses. Thorkel has spares, but they've hidden those as well. They break one lens of his remaining pair. Now he's
now
truly
Dr.
Dr. Cyclops with only one good eye. He chases them out through the jungle again, and he falls into the radium well and dies. Saw that coming like an hour ago.
Mm-hmm.
Months later, the 3 survivors walk back to town, fully regrown. Dun dun dun.
Happy ending for them.
Well, this was made in 1939
See,
in
they threw
color.
in romance. There's the romance.
They did.
It wasn't a
Happily Ever
romantic
After.
comedy, but it was romance. Yeah.
Yeah. So it clearly was expensive in 1939 color terms.
And the special effects and, the whole shebang. It must have been a pricey movie.
Yeah. Much of that color seemed to be invested in the flickery laser effect used to portray the effects of Thorkel's radium machine. Once again, all the strangeness is attributed to radium, the only radioactive material most people had heard about.
Only they'd kind of vaguely heard about it, and it was vaguely scary. And
This was before plutonium or atomic bombs or
Yeah.
any of that stuff.
yeah, so it's a scary kind of unknown thing.
Yeah, that Mary Curie, she invented this radium stuff, and it was magical. Naturally, everyone carries around the rocks containing the radium with their bare hands. Yeah, they just find it laying around, and they pick it. Oh, look, I think this is radium. And then they go off to have their happily ever after afterwards.
It's only a little radioactive. It's all right.
Yeah. Thorkel's outfits inspired any number of retro-futuristic mad scientist artwork. He's got this welding mask with these big round goggly eyes.
Very cool look that he's got there.
And I've no doubt you have seen these images and maybe didn't even realize it was from this film. Just about anything with goggles looks based on this appearance in this movie. All that steampunky stuff. The special effects are really well done. We never see the actual process of shrinking, but the scenes of the big doctor and the little people are excellent, especially for an early color film. Giant props, giant hands, tiny animals, and sets all work together to look realistic. It's all very entertaining, with a classic feel, and I'm surprised this isn't more iconic than it is.
Yeah, it really should be. It deserves it.
Yeah, it's almost, I won't say forgotten, but it's certainly not in the realm of some of these others.
Yeah, not a household name.
Speaking of household names,
Amityville.
whatever happened to the Amityville horror?
Well, it just keeps going and going and going.
All the way up into, the first movie was 1970 something, 77, 78.
And here we are in 1989.
The Evil Escapes.
Over a decade later, yeah.
Directed by Sandor Stern. Written by John G. Jones and Sandor Stern. Stars Patty Duke, Jane Wyatt, and Frederick Lane. 1 hour, 35 minutes. Okay, so this had some relatively big people in it at the time.
Yeah, it did.
What'd you think?
It was okay.
It was okay, huh?
No, it was better than some of the previous sequels, I thought. I enjoyed it more than...
It's not the worst.
It's not the worst sequel.
No, it's definitely not the worst.
Very cool lamp in it.
First thing he said when he saw that lamp says, I want that lamp.
But it was a unique prop for the movie. It wasn't a product.
And it turned out it was a very important prop for the movie.
Yes. Because the evil escapes. And
In
how does
the
it
lamp.
escape? By possessing the lamp. The lamp leaves the house. The house isn't haunted anymore. The lamp is. And then the demonic force has a new home.
Yeah. So the bottom line on this film is if you have to watch all the Amityville movies, you can be entertained by this one. It's not the worst.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that's
Yeah,
the best we're going to
how's
say
that for
about
some
this
praise?
one, yes.
Yeah.
Mid-tier Amityville. Well, we open on a shot of the Amityville horror house with its eye-like windows on a dark and stormy night.
Did you know the eye-like windows are no longer there anymore?
I did,
It's
yes.
all iconic, but...
Too many gawkers.
Yeah, too many gawkers. They replaced them with just regular windows.
That's the thing everybody knows the house for, is those little windows.
Not anymore. Yeah.
Well, now there's a for sale sign in the front yard. A group of priests get out of the car and go into the house to do battle. It's full of flies, slamming doors, dripping blood, and other scary stuff. Whatever's in the house isn't hiding itself anymore. And one of the priests is attacked by a demon lamp and ends up in the hospital. The old priest in charge finally declares that the evil is gone. The realtor asks, could the house just be lying low or faking being at peace?
Or hiding in a lamp. Hiding in a lamp.
Now, he doesn't ask that, but he should have. No, the priest is sure that the evil is gone. They then have a yard sale, and an old woman, Mrs. Royce, buys the ugly demon lamp. She accidentally cuts her finger on the lamp, but says she'll be fine. And she is not fine.
It sort of looks like a Groot. It's like imagine Groot with a
light bulb
head instead of his head.
It does kind of, yeah.
It's very Groot-like. Yeah, it's very tree-like with arms. Yeah.
Yeah. So Mrs. Royce cuts her finger, and she says, "It's okay, I'll be fine." And she's not fine. The finger's infected. Still, she has time to ship the lamp to her sister in California. We then cut to Dancott, California, where a box with a lamp arrives for Nancy Evans. Nancy's daughter and grandkids are set to move in there as well. They unpack the ugly lamp, but they do find it amusing, so they decide to keep it. The cat, on the other hand, hisses and hates the thing. That night, Nancy sees her dead husband in the mirror. Nancy later finds daughter Jessie talking to her father, who is not really there because he's dead.
Whoops.
The next morning, the lamp starts annoying the housekeeper. They find Grandma's now dead pet bird in the oven. Oops. Grandma's already regretting letting the grandkids move in. Because, yeah, who else is going to get blamed?
That's right, grandkids.
Back in Amityville, the young priest is released from the hospital. This young priest wants to know what happened to the lamp that put him in the hospital. He and the old priest have a discussion about evil, and he believes that the evil could transmigrate into the lamp and then into another house or person at any time.
Uh-oh.
So I guess probably at this point they were having legal rights issues with that house. And this was their way to
move it away from the house.
Expand things, yes. We could do Amityville anywhere.
Yeah.
Brian, the son, does battle in the basement with an out-of-control chainsaw. He tries to kill Grandma, but the maid blocks the blade. Grandma is not pleased. Stupid grandkids. It's not his fault, but of course no one believes that. The young priest then goes to meet Mrs. Royce, who bought the lamp at the yard sale, but she's dying in the hospital from demonic tetanus.
They don't really call it that. They probably just call it regular tetanus.
They do call it tetanus, yes.
But we know it's demonic tetanus.
Yeah, evil tetanus, not like the usual good stuff. He finds out where the lamp went, but they can't contact Grandma Alice as the phones keep going out. What a coincidence. Danny comes over and moves the lamp to the attic. The lamp gets revenge by tricking him into putting his hand in the garbage disposal. Huh. Okay.
Ow.
Nancy finds Jessie in the attic talking to the lamp again. She thinks the lamp is her father. Next day, there's black stuff coming out of all the sinks. The plumber comes to fix the problem, but he doesn't live long. Then his van drives away without him, so the man assumes he's left for parts.
The maid. The maid assumes.
The maid does, yes.
Yeah.
The lamp lures the maid up to the attic and kills her as well.
Yeah, this one has quite a body count.
Mm-hmm. The priest arrives and immediately gets sick without even going inside. He leaves a note. There's lots of drama between Nancy and Jessie as they search the house for the maid. Nancy finds the priest's note and finally meets him. He explains about the lamp and Mrs. Royce and that it's about to transmigrate into Jessica. Meanwhile, Jessie goes back into the attic and no one can stop her. They all break in and Jessie stabs the priest. They all do battle and Alice tries to kill the lamp with an axe. Well, that doesn't work, so she tries the holy water. Finally, they throw it out the window and down a mile-high cliff where it explodes.
We'll never see that again.
You throw a plugged-in electrical lamp out the window, it falls half a mile down to the ocean, hits the ocean, and explodes in a fireball.
Because it was demonic. It was possessed. It was evil.
All right. And full of gasoline, apparently.
From the explosion.
Or dynamite.
Sure yeah.
Jessica thinks it was all a dream. The next morning, the priest leaves, Grandma goes to Mrs. Royce's funeral, and everyone else is set for a happy ending. Meanwhile, the cat is down on the beach playing with the remains of the lamp, and his eyes start to glow.
Uh-oh.
Well, this was a made-for-TV movie, but it did have quite a few big names in it, or at least people who had eventually become pretty well-known not too long after.
And some previous made-for-TV films that we've watched and seen, they really tame them down, and they're really bad and really, The Omen one was a good example of that. It was so tame.
No blood at all.
Yeah, this was actually pretty
Well,
pretty horror.
Well,
fun,
like you said, this did have a high body count, but I mean, you didn't see very much. There was not a lot of
super
blood.
gory. Yeah.
Yeah, it was like things like electrical cords whipping around people's necks, and
The hand down the garbage disposal.
that was a good one.
That was cringeworthy. Yeah.
Okay, so this doesn't take place inside the famous Amityville house, but there are enough ties to make it not feel like a cheat, unlike the way some of the newer movies did. Was that the Amityville Resurrection? That's really just literally they drove through Amityville on the way there?
Yeah.
Yeah. The lamp came from the famous house, and the reasoning behind that is explained in the story. It's not about the house, it's about the demons. The lamp prop is pretty cool, though. Mm-hmm. It doesn't feel long, and it doesn't get boring. It's fairly predictable, but overall I did like it. This isn't the best Amityville movie, but it's far from the worst. And it's a worthy thing to watch sometime if you're in an Amityville kind of mood.
Overall, thumbs up.
Thumbs up, yes.
So, you feeling trapped now?
No, not too trapped.
You sure?
Gonna go back in the closet.
Okay. Well,
we watched a short film this week called Trap. And it came out this year, 2021.
This was some fine work by Alexander Henderson, who has a YouTube channel with a whole bunch of stuff.
Yeah.
And I haven't had a chance to look at his other stuff yet. But
he's got 7 or 8 things on there. They all look pretty good from the thumbnails.
Oh, more than 7.
Oh, yeah, there is more than that. Okay.
Yeah, he's got a channel. It's,
Cool. Had to watch more of those.
Yeah.
Well, again, directed and written by Alexander Henderson, and he also gets a little brief cameo in there introducing it. Stars Dakia Anderson and Justin Graves. Runtime's 5 minutes and 3 seconds. There's a link in the show notes where you can watch it yourself. 5 minutes, why wouldn't you?
Yeah, you should.
So we get a very brief introduction by the director in a creepy horror host style.
And he does a quick narration overview.
He does too, yes.
Over narration.
Yeah.
Too. Yeah.
The introduction, and he does a little bit of closing there at the end. I thought he was really hard to understand in the closing. It was basically like and subscribe, but yeah, a little bit too much effects there. But we do quickly get into the story. A young woman is alone in her apartment and hears a noise in the closet. She approaches the closet when her phone rings. It's her date for the evening. She goes out, has a good time, and returns. When she comes back, she finds footprints coming out of her closet. Should she open the door? No. Does she?
Well, you'll have to watch for yourself and see what happens.
You know she's gonna. All right, well, this is about as low budget as an indie film can possibly get and still be good. And it is good. It's all filmed inside what looks like a bedroom.
Yeah, it was really good.
There are some makeup effects, but clearly there was no real budget for CGI or any kind of special effects here. And yet it is creepy, suspenseful, and looks good. The lighting is dim, but that's not inappropriate for a small apartment like this. The sound is perfect. You can hear everything clearly. The plot fits the runtime perfectly. It's not dragged out, nor is it rushed, but there is plenty of time for a surprise or two. When she reached the door handle, I literally said out loud, Don't do that. Spoiler, she did.
So, yeah, looking forward to seeing some of the other stuff on the channel.
Yeah, we'll have to watch more of his things.
Yeah.
All right, so here we are approaching Mother's Day.
Coming up, when is that, May?
June? May? I don't know.
Yeah.
A long ways off.
But this movie, despite being called Mother's Day, has nothing to do with the actual holiday.
Which is probably good, because if your Mother's Day was like this, you wouldn't have another one.
There's some mothers in it. There's 2 mothers.
And they have issues.
Yeah, and there's some legal issues, yeah.
Okay, so this is from 2010, called Mother's Day, directed by Darren Lynn Bousman, written by Scott Millam, and stars Rebecca De Mornay, Jamie King, Shawn Ashmore. Hour and 52 minutes. A long hour and 52 minutes, I might add. Mm. So what'd you think?
I'm kind of with you on this. I didn't love it.
Yeah. I'm going to give this one a strong thumbs down.
I didn't think there was enough new here. I thought it was too long and dragged out. And I didn't think that Rebecca De Mornay, while she's good at what she does, I've seen her do this before, it felt It felt like stuff I'd seen from her before.
Stuff that she'd done
Crazy.
before.
Yeah. It's her being crazy again. Well, there was that Black Widow one, and yeah, she does crazy really well. But I mean, just the whole thing. It wasn't bad. It was well made, good acting, but
nothing new.
Nothing new enough to really grab me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I will tear this one apart when we get through the description.
You're going to tear it even worse than I did?
Yeah.
Oh, my.
A woman goes into a hospital and steals a baby. The security guard follows her into the basement where someone else kills him. And credits roll. Yeah, so, it's called Mother's Day. Baby snatched out of the hospital. I figured this was going to be a movie about somebody who steals babies from hospitals or maybe kills babies in hospitals. And so, yeah.
No, that wasn't
Yeah,
it.
no, it's nothing like that.
No.
Nothing like that. It would have been so much better.
Maybe.
Well, a couple at a small party are talking about getting a better house and having a baby as the TV weather talks about a tornado warning coming to the area. Meanwhile, some robbers are...
Oh, yeah, I forgot about
this
the
tornado warning, yes.
Clear the area. There's a tornado coming. There's a tornado warning. That just
Clearly, this movie was made by
the
people who never lived in tornado country. They're mistaking it with hurricane.
Whole movie, yeah, and it is like a hurricane. Like
the tornado will be here in 20 minutes.
Like how they handle hurricanes. They
Tornadoes
start closing
approaching.
the roads, start clearing out people, or at least telling them to batten down, but preferably evacuating. And yeah, what? It's tornadoes don't. Yeah, that's not how that works.
First there's a thunderstorm, and boom, the tornado's got you. There's no it's coming business.
Not like that, no.
Yeah.
No, this if they could predict tornadoes like that, there'd never be any fatalities from tornadoes. They knew this was coming 2 hours ahead of time.
Oh, at least, yeah. Meanwhile, some robbers are driving down the road, but one of them has been shot. The robbers go into the house, but they've got the wrong house. This is the house with the party in the basement. The couple moved in 2 months ago since their mother lost the house in a foreclosure, and nobody told the robbers. Oops. Before long, the robbers have everyone in the basement except for George, who is a doctor. There's an inordinate amount of screaming while loud music plays in the background. And this went on for too long.
It was a relief when the music was
yes,
finally
the music
off.
was just that music.
I thought that was a bad director choice. Should have killed that sooner.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The robber's mother then shows up to take charge. She's not happy to be there either. She does, however, want the money that her boys have been sending to the house. They didn't know that Mother had lost the house, so they kept sending money there. Beth and Danny, who bought the house, don't know anything, so the boys break Danny's hand. Melissa runs out, but she gets shot in the back. They take everyone's ATM card and PIN numbers, and then Ike and Beth head off to cash in at the ATMs while Mama takes charge. She's calm, clear-headed, and very ruthless. The prisoners in the basement are divided between those who want to counterattack and those who want to do what they're told. It becomes obvious that regardless of how this all works out, none of them are going to be friends in the morning. They all turn on each other.
Yep, drama. Johnny,
the robber who got shot, cries that he's a virgin. So they grab one of the women from downstairs to help him out with that problem. Because, if you've been shot in the stomach and you're bleeding out, that's the first thing on your mind. Mama's a bit too hands-on with this procedure, so it doesn't go well. Yeah, not only is his guts leaking out and he's bleeding all over, but Mama's like talking the virgin into cooperating.
Yeah, a whole lot of you.
Yeah, meanwhile, Ike and Beth have their adventures at the ATMs, and they're pulled over by a cop who explains that the tornado is about to hit.
Yeah.
It doesn't work like that's not how tornadoes work.
Not how tornadoes work.
But okay, they end up shooting the cop and then running him over. At this point in the film, we had a bathroom break, and the first words out of my mouth were, "Oh my God, it's got a half an hour to go."
And we both laughed at that comment. Yeah.
Then things started getting violent. One by one, people start dying in rapid succession. Rapid about an hour after they all should have died. Then Mama finds out that there are 2 mothers in the house. Yeah, it was long.
It is violent. It is a violent movie.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, lots of violence.
Well, from the way this was marketed, and even after the opening scene, I was honestly expecting a baby-snatching film. Something like the original The Babysitter, or even The Hand That Rocks the Cradle. Not a home invasion / killer redneck film. It's nothing at all what I expected. Not in a good way. This is what a dysfunctional family really looks like. Somehow this much dysfunction isn't funny at all. It's definitely tense, as they're all very unpredictable, but there's nearly zero humor here. And it could have been, if this had done with a more comedy style, it might have been good.
Maybe.
But there's no humor here, which is a factor that most horror films use to balance the bad stuff. This is just unpleasant from start to finish. I did, however, learn how to torture someone with boiling water to the ears, so there's that new skill. You never know when something like that's going to come in useful. The scene where they set a girl on fire was enlightening too, but probably not so useful. Overall, it was not entertaining, too long, bleak, and no fun whatsoever throughout.
Harsh.
Yeah, I'd give it 3 thumbs down. It was pretty bad.
I'd give it a 6.
Clearly the worst thing we saw this week.
I'd give it a 6. Yes, I agree.
Very possibly the worst thing we've seen this month.
Yeah, I agree the worst thing.
But
didn't hate it like you did. Just didn't like it as much. Not nearly as much. So then we come to Monstrum.
2018 Korean film, subtitled.
Inspired by true events.
I'm sure, yes.
Well, sort of. could have been.
Directed by Jung Ho Ha.
Oh, good luck with these names.
Written by Jung Uk Byeon and Hyo Dem. Stars Myung Min Kim, In Kwan Kim, and Hyeri Lee. 1 hour, 45 minutes. Subtitled. Color and looks good, though. Very modern, very recent looking.
Mm-hmm.
Did you like it?
I did, yeah.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, very cool.
And you tend to be extra harsh on the subtitled foreign films.
I do tend to be harsh on subtitled foreign films. Yeah, this one had me engrossed.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I've never really actually figured out what Monstrum is. Is that what they called it? Is that the name of the thing, like Godzilla? Is that a Korean word for monster?
It was a little bit unclear.
Yeah, it's like, look, Monstrum. Oh, all right.
Yeah.
All right, well, we start out in the year 1506. The king has been replaced with a new king, and his officials are starting to turn against him. The soldiers are killing those infected, or said to be infected, with the plague. Credits roll. There were reports of a monster attacks on Mount Inwangsan, a new and unseen beast. The Prime Minister says monsters appear in lands with poor leadership. Sure, politicize
always taking the opportunity to blame it on the king, yes.
Yeah. The hunters are skeptical, but something's eating their animals. We then meet the 2 brother hunters and their daughter. A messenger from the king comes. It turns out the girl's father was an important general once, and her uncle was a really good soldier as well. They're both retired now.
And they've got a bit of comedic stuff going on.
Yeah, they're not real good farmers.
Yeah, they're kind of a little tweedledum action going on there.
And at this point, we're getting the usual...
Which is deceptive, because they're incredibly skilled
Yeah.
fighters and strategists, and they're brilliant soldiers, but they're stuck being farmers, and they're not good at it.
Retired soldiers.
Farmers and hunters. Yeah.
Playing farmer.
Trying to live off the land, and they're clumsy at it.
Yeah. You've seen this.
So you get the initial impression that they're a couple of doofuses, but they're not really.
Yeah. And you've seen this kind of thing in many, many Asian films before. They're almost comic relief at this point.
Mm-hmm.
We then get a flashback to the king sending the father, Yoon Gyam, away with the baby girl to protect her. She was abandoned with a plague purge from the pre-credit sequence. So she was the only survivor of that plague group that we saw killed earlier.
Uh-huh.
The father, who's not really her father, but the soldier took in the child and refused to kill her, so he was banished. The uncle was sent away with him. The king explains why he sent them away and why he needs them to return now. It was all in the plan. Yoon and Sung, the brothers, return to Hanyang, the capital, and Myung, the daughter, follows behind them. Meanwhile, a priestess and her group try to pray away the monstrum, but it kills them all.
Should have prayed harder.
It's either invisible or very fast, but we don't get to see it.
But it's very gory what it does to him.
Yeah, what's left is entertaining.
Yeah.
The general and his people investigate the bodies the next morning. A man stumbles into town saying he was attacked by the Monstrum. They find half a man hanging way up on a tree. And how did he get up there? And what happened to the other half? Yoon insists, nope, they were killed by a man. Myung, the daughter, likes Officer Her, and they're about the same age. They figure out that Monstrum is spreading a plague. They get volunteers from the town to form a search party to find the thing in the woods. It's a monster hunt, but it's also very political. The old Prime Minister makes it known that he's not happy that Yoon has returned to active duty.
Yeah, there's a lot of politics going on here.
And bad blood.
Mm-hmm.
They return to the pit where Jan rescued Myung many years ago, and they find a huge paw print. The soldiers turn on the villagers, killing most of them. We get a martial arts break as the battle rages. Don't get a lot of martial arts in this one in the usual flying through the air kind of way, but you do here.
Just enough to make it spicy. Without being absurd.
Yoon, Sung, Myung, and Her are the only survivors, but they're captured. The evil general kicks Myung and Her down into the pit where the Monstrum lives. Never see them again. The Monstrum climbs out of the pit and attacks the general's men. Perfect timing. The question of whether or not Monstrum is real is finally answered. The men that are killed are covered in bloody boils. So yeah, it takes a swipe at you and boom, you're plagued.
Very virulent.
Very fast.
Mm-hmm.
They meet the old man in the cave, and he tells them to cover themselves in goo so the creature can't smell them. The creature has bad eyesight. Meanwhile, the Prime Minister decides to use this situation to bring down the king. He orders the Tiger Knights to burn down the city. The peasants' rage will turn them against the king. The old man leads Yoon and his group to Jojin Hall, where the old king used to keep his rarest beasts. The old man's job was to feed the beast. He's the zookeeper. We get a flashback to see the baby Monstrum.
And it's so cute. It's like a little puppy. Little monstrous puppy.
The old man rescued the Monstrum from the purge when the old king died. It eventually turned crazy and in pain by eating plague-infested corpses. The Monstrum eats the old man. The Prime Minister makes his move and shoots the king. His soldiers are preparing to destroy the town when Monstrum attacks the throne room. Then it attacks the courtyard. And, of course, it makes a big mess out of the troops. They finally capture it, and the Prime Minister wants to release it on the town and then kill it himself as a PR stunt.
He's really a dick.
Yeah, he is.
Yeah.
But it's not that easy. Monstrum starts spitting plague juice on the troops and escapes. Oh, well, there you go.
Mm-hmm.
The villagers turn on the soldiers and lock the Prime Minister inside the palace with the Monstrum. The Monstrum kills the PM, climbs to the top of the palace tower, and gives a King Kong roar. Yoon shoots him with an arrow, and Monstrum falls to the ground below. Meanwhile, Sung and Her battle the evil general, but Myung ends up saving both of them. Yoon then leaves the Monstrum to an explosive trap set by Sung and Her, sacrifices himself to blow it up. Impossibly, he points out, impossibly, he survives and the four main characters all have a happy ending. We then jump ahead 3 years to when Myung and Her get married, and Yoon and Sung go off into the mountains to be farmers again. Yay.
Lots of action, lots of characters, lots of stuff going on.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of have to pay attention to it.
Oh, yeah. Well, subtitles.
Well, between that and the subtitles, yeah.
And this looks like it had a really big budget. It's brightly lit, very colorful, and looks really good. There's a lot of behind-the-scenes history here, and it all shows. Yes, it's a monster film, but it takes place in a big fleshed-out world. I have no idea how much of this is based on actual historical periods and people, but it all seems very realistic. The Monstrum itself is a pure CGI creation, but it looks really good, and before long, you're rooting for it to kill everyone.
See, and I think part of the reason the CGI monster looks so good, too, was probably that a lot of those set pieces were CGI as well.
I think so, yeah.
And it wasn't, putting a CGI creature on real sets.
The whole background was CGI.
Yeah, and I think that makes it look more realistic and blends in better. Oh, I think maybe you're gonna say that in your notes here.
No, not like that.
Okay.
I don't know if this is one of those. What do they call it when the entire set is virtual?
I don't think the entire thing was, but I bet a lot of it was.
Yeah, like the Mandalorian. Yeah, there's a term for that now.
Okay.
Shoot, and I had it on the tip of my tongue.
The World of Tomorrow.
Oh no, not that far
to that
back.
degree.
No. No, it's like it used to be the actors were standing on a stage with a green screen behind them.
Oh right.
Now they have the digital projection behind them, and that's the term I was looking for. Just it's all digital.
Okay.
Yeah, if the Mandalorian turns around, he can see spaceships and stuff flying behind him because it's there on the screen.
Okay.
It's not quite as fake as it used to be.
Mm-hmm.
But no,
whatever they did.
Yeah, whatever they did.
Yeah.
Most of the sets are probably CGI, and it blends in really well and looks a lot more realistic than most of the other CGI monsters. And this starts off like kind of any other Asian martial arts film, with comedy and silliness till we get to know all the characters. But it gets very serious later on and is actually very good.
Yeah, it is.
If you watch 10 minutes, you're probably going to be tempted to turn it off because it looks stupid.
Stick with it.
Stick with it. It gets better. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it does. All right, and that is our show. Where would you go to read our reviews?
I bet you'd go to horrorguys.com.
If you wanted to find us on Twitter, where would you go?
At Horror Bulletin.
Yeah, a little bit different there.
Yeah.
The old name for the site, Horror Bulletin. Yeah, at Horror Bulletin. If they wanted to find us on Facebook, where would they go?
Horror Guys has a page.
You look up Horror Guys Podcast, all one word. You'll find us on Facebook.
We have a group, a page, whatever you call it.
Both.
Yeah, a thing.
A page and a group.
Yeah.
All right, but believe it or not, we'll be back next week, and we'll be watching some more classics.
Like what? Oh, House on Haunted Hill from
Vincent
1958.
Price, yes.
Oh, yeah, a classic there.
Get your skeletons in a row.
And one of my favorites, Phantasm from 1979.
Yeah, a couple weeks ago, we did our favorite movies and said we were going to be pushing our favorites this year a little bit more, and that is way up high on both our lists from 1979, Phantasm.
And
another one from that same list
that we liked a lot, Lifeforce from 1985.
What's worse than vampires?
Space vampires. And then finally, Kong Skull Island.
Got the new Kong versus Godzilla coming out, so we thought we would pick up the most recent Kong movie, Skull Island.
And that was 2018? Yeah.
Yeah, and it, yeah. Uh-huh. Yeah. Okay, Kong Skull Island coming next week.
Yep.
But we'll see you next week.
See ya.
See ya.